Okay, guys, I have, while you're on the screen, as you can see, I have Nicola Rocha. Nicola was like you at one point, struggling through the maze of the courses and statistics, and you graduated in 2011.
Yep, that's right.
Can you hear me? Okay, so why don't we cut to the chase and tell us a little bit, and then we'll take questions from the audience.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit what you do now, very quickly, and then what you've learned, right? What you've learned helped you, so that they help them focus on.
Sure. So yes, right now I am investment technology specialist on our investment tech team. Right now I'm mostly, I help with like the strategic development of algorithms, reporting, technology projects basically to support our investment unit. Before that, I was a full-time quant on our quantitative, our factor-based equity team. So I did a lot of factor research on things like value, momentum, stability, and I worked a lot on the implementation side as well. So portfolio construction, a lot of portfolio optimization, synthesizing a portfolio from an alpha model, putting it through an optimizer, back testing, and doing things like that. And then a little further back, I was kind of a team lead, or we're an agile development company, so it was like a scrum master type position. And I was on a financial modeling team that I actually started for portfolio rebalancing on our wealth platform. So I think that's a good segue, since I went backwards. To how did I get this job? Well, I applied for it right out of, I did the program you're all in. I did it in 1 year, and in the fall I interviewed. SEI was one of the places I interviewed, and I entered their master's rotation program, which was a 2-year program on the technology platform. And really quickly, I had a big affinity towards the portfolio rebalancing team, and just portfolio management in general, which wasn't a surprise because it was the thing within our technology unit at the time that was by far the most closely aligned with the MSAF program in my undergrad. So I did some time there, spent a few years there, and then I had a mentor who worked in portfolio management that I'd met through various projects and stayed in touch with. And we had a reorg on the technology side. He asked me if I'd be interested in being a quantitative analyst for him. He was launching factor-based strategies, and I said, yes, that sounds great. So I joined up with him in 2014, I believe. And I've been kind of in I would really qualify like the theme to my work as, investment focused technology, whether that's doing research on quantitative models, supporting it through implementations, working on optimizations to portfolios. I've spent a lot of time in like tax optimization, like minimizing transaction costs, like a lot of the real world stuff. And now there's I don't know if you guys have heard of ESG investing, environment, sustainability, and governance. Really just 3 new factors that have become really popular lately. Had some input on that. So my theme has been really using technology to help our investment capabilities. So right now I'm looking more out towards how can we use technology better to improve our investment products and offering overall. So, that's kind of what I do now, what I've done, and, how I got into this position. I guess the next thing, it would be a little bit of advice, maybe that helped me get the job, the first job. And I would say I've given this to other Lehigh students before. Your first job, I think, especially out of school, you want to be just getting in to a good company where you're interested in what the bigger initiatives that they are, that they're doing. And you want to kind of emphasize your multidisciplinary skill set. I think depending where you want to go, and I'll skip ahead real quick to number 5 that Professor Zora wanted me to cover on, do we have any openings? We do have a quantitative analyst opening. It's in London, however, so you have to move to London. But depending where you want to go, the quant career could be interesting. So my advice on getting a job is, the big cities like San Francisco or Seattle, Chicago, New York, or London. Move to one of those cities if you're really serious, or at least fly out and interview, apply to a lot of positions in those areas. That's where a lot of the quant jobs are. But my advice is, if you don't want to go to one of those places, really sell the multidisciplinary aspect of your degree. The whole financial services industry right now is looking to leverage algorithmic thinking and technology, and you'll be really surprised how far the analytical finance, or now financial engineering background, how many different things in financial services that you can really help out with. So, like in my case, I wanted to be a quant. I didn't want to move to New York. I found a firm I liked. I got on their technology platform, but I worked, I quickly found a spot, within rebalancing, which was very quantitative and algorithmic. And next thing I knew, we didn't do quantitative equity investment at the time, but as soon as they spun it up, I was one of the first people that they thought of to help with it. So, it's often a winding road. And I would say the skills that you're getting now, you can really, especially on the technology and the problem solving, the algorithmic side, financial services companies are looking for critical thinkers who are adept in technology. So, you can play up those aspects even if it isn't a home run quant firm. And then you just never know once you're in, where business is crazy. You never know where things are going to take you. So I think that my advice for getting your first job is twofold. One is, if you really are looking for that hardcore quantitative analyst job, look in the right regions, be prepared to move, and start early. It doesn't hurt to apply for things that you might not know everything, because when you graduate, you can apply again. Every bit of experience in the interview process helps. And if you're more like me and you didn't want a big city, don't rule out financial services companies, especially ones that are looking to use technology. I think you've got a really, really good skill set to really bridge some gaps between business and investing ideas and technical implementation.
Let me ask, can you hear me, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. This job that you got, you basically were hired through SCI, right? But then you said somebody said, hey, come over and work with me. Was it within the same organization?
Yes. So same company, right? SCI, but he was on the investment management side and I was on the technology side. But what was interesting about our rebalancing solution is it kind of straddled both. It was very tech heavy, but we always had to get buy-in from the investment experts. And this was an expert on the investment side that I had, a lot of exposure to and met with for coffees and, idea exchanging. He was somebody whose approval I needed to implement algorithms.
Okay. So, and the way you got into SEI, how did that happen?
So I got in through a master's rotation program. So it was just a job application I actually found at the career fair, at the Lehigh Career Fair. They wanted people with graduate degrees on the technology side, and I just applied. And they called me up, went through a few rounds of interviews. They liked that I was multidisciplinary. You know, they were interviewing a lot of MBAs, they were interviewing a lot of finance, masters in finance, and I was kind of a little differentiated, so I got an offer pretty quick. And, you know, I think they wanted me to, I got it in the fall, so, you know, it was a difficult choice because part of me, like I said, did want to go to New York or Chicago or London, but the other part of me, you know, I had to just be really honest with what I wanted. And I really liked Philadelphia, I liked the suburbs, and I did some research on the firm. I really liked the firm. And so, yeah, that's basically how I got it, through the Lehigh Career Fair.
Is it
interviewed.
Lehigh Career Fair, or was it just a general career fair?
It was actually just a general career fair, but they did something interesting. I'm not sure they still do it. It was like the first hour or 2 hours of the career fair was for graduate students only. So I guess it was a bit specialized, but it was part of the bigger career fair just because I was a graduate student. I got in that hour early or whatever, and that's where I found this opportunity.
Okay, so let me turn around with these guys, see if they have any questions.
Sure, I'll let you pick.
Hi.
Can you hear him?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah. So during your time at Lehigh, I'm just curious what class you found was the most useful to you once you got into the professional world, and then maybe also something that you weren't taught in school that you found was really important for you getting to where you are today.
Sure. So just make sure I heard it right. You're saying which classes and projects in the financial engineering program did I find the most useful in my career?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's probably a few dimensions to that. The most directly applicable was probably the portfolio optimization. Do you all still take the optimization class?
Yeah.
Like learning the basics of portfolio construction at a really academic level, that really helped. There's a lot of software out there now that does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, but just to have the insights and having, you know, formulated the problems at the lowest level and building it up, that's huge, because almost every, like a simple rebalancing problem is really a portfolio construction exercise. You're trying to, you know, buy and sell securities in an optimization framework. So, you know, starting from scratch, you're trying to, you know, you're starting basically from a zero position. Like I have 100% cash, 0% everything else. But in a rebalancing, it's exactly the same thing that you're learning. It's just your starting weights are already determined. So that was big. And I think project-wise, I really liked the capstone that we got. We got a really cool capstone about assessing risk across different asset classes, and I did a really cool financial calculus or stochastic calculus the second semester. Really cool project that actually coattailed with our capstone because they were both about diversification, and it was really neat. We built it was the volatility matrix or implied volatility matrix. I'm really having to stretch back, but built like an algorithm in MATLAB that like we ended up using on the side. Like I remember my friends and I think I wrote the code for it, and we all kind of got the idea from Professor Dobrik at the time. And we started like actually like considering investing like off of some of those portfolios, and that was pretty cool. I ended up buying some of the first stocks I bought like as a real adult, you know, were driven by, hey, like these are things I like. I'm going to put them in this tool and see how diversified they are. And just in general, though, diversification is something that's not going to go away anytime soon. And having those principles really nailed in, like, really helped even with the business side. So I would say that it was probably two projects, really, the capstone of the financial engineering class and just the capstone for the stochastic calculus class. They both really beat diversification into me, which was a good thing. So.
Yes, good.
Hi, I'm Kai. So I have a question. So during the master program, what positions did you work in during the program? And how did you get the job, like through the rotational program? Was it because of your performance during the program, or was it because of your like relationship between the company?
Can you hear me?
Sorry, it was really muffled. Maybe is he farther away?
Yeah, then I'll come closer. You're gonna be right next to Justin.
Hi, so my question is, like during the master's rotational program, so what position did you work in, and how did you get a job through the rotational program? Was it because of your performance or your like relationship between the company?
Sure. So the first part was like, what was my like formal position? So you're wondering like, what was I considered, like an analyst? So actually, when I started, I was technically classified as a business analyst, but that was very fluid. And then I think the second part of your question was, how did I, like, what led to getting the quantitative analyst job? Like, how did I get that job? Was it my performance, or I would say it was a product of two things. One was internal networking. So, you know, just keeping a good, you know, people that I respected what they did. And I thought that we had overlapping interests, you know, putting coffee meetings out there, meeting with those people regularly, because they're the ones that are going to have the opportunities. Usually, sometimes there'll be an internal posting, but a lot of times, just, you know, being the guy that's known as, hey, like I was known in the master's rotation as like the quant guy. And they wanted to do some more advanced things with quant over in my associate's part of the company. And, you know, I was on a list of one in terms of people that he wanted internally. Like if he didn't go with me, he would have probably gone external. So I think it was kind of just internal reputation, being the guy that knew a little bit about that and, you know, knowing the right person.
I have a question about the rotation program. So like, did you have a chance to try like different positions or like?
Yes.
Okay.
So our master's program was, essentially they wanted to get you through a QA, so like a testing rotation. They wanted to get you through a business analyst rotation. And they wanted to get you through what they called more like a project manager type rotation. And the idea was you would have a different job at each on 4 different teams. So you would learn a lot about the platform. The platform is massive. So you would, you know, be learning kind of a new job in a new place. So you're building domain expertise, but you're also kind of, I would say, on the job interviewing for a few different types of jobs. So are you more suited to be a tester? Are you more suited to be like a project leader? Are you more suited to be an analyst? I was different because I had a lot of coding capabilities. So my third or fourth rotation, I was actually a developer, which was unusual. Like I actually wrote code in one of my rotations. So I got a ton of exposure to how things worked. And that also helped me pick like the team that I wanted to be on long term, which turned out to work out really well. So does that answer it?
Yeah, thank you.
We 10 more minutes, but I wanted to, when you reflect on what you did and what others did within your class, when you were here, what was the main factor in terms of getting that job? Was it the the networking? What have been your experience through the process?
Yeah, so for me, the main, versus my classmates, I think in the fall, and especially we were, a lot of my peers, we were doing it in 1 year, and we were to be totally honest, not even a lot of times thinking about the job because we were so slammed with homework and studying for exams. So we were extremely stressed out, but I think it's when you're really tired and everybody's kind of, exhausted from, a 4 o'clock exam and stochastic calculus, and then, it just so happens that that's the day the career fair is. I think a lot of it's just that persistence to just, even though you're beaten down and you're tired from all the studying and work, that you still just go and show up at all these events. Prioritize it, even though it's not going to affect your grades. Just when you're tired and you're beat down, I think showing up, even if you're not prepared. I remember the career fair I went to, it was a similar scenario. I was definitely not prepared, but just going, I became aware of this opportunity. So that I think is key, that, don't miss those events, even if you're tired and beat down.
And how did other people get the job?
What's that?
How did other people within your class, how did they get their jobs?
So I know a couple of people in my class. So we were one of the earlier classes. We had a very tough time breaking into the quant firms. I don't think any of us went to quant firms right from the program because we all wanted to lock down jobs in the fall. I think we all interviewed for a couple, that we just found online, but found that the interviews were extremely tough and that we needed more, we weren't really ready for those until after we graduated. So a lot of my peer group, they got jobs, and a lot of them were undergrads at Lehigh too, but through career services. And I think we had a lot of guys go to IBM. We had one guy go to APT, which is in DC, a really nice firm. We had one guy that was an actuary that went to go work in insurance. He wanted to be an actuary and did the financial engineering. I don't remember where he got that application though. But I do know that people that waited to apply after graduating from the program fared better in quant jobs. But at that time, I don't know how it's changed. The real Wall Street quant analysts, we were kind of on our own back then to go find them online.
I mean, say that again, that you were better off after you graduated to find a job?
Yeah, so in our case where we were doing it in 1 year, a lot of the interviews were really technical and competitive. And after one semester, we didn't have the skill set really to ace some of the more technical aspects. So I don't know if we were better, more ready. I hope so. More semesters, hopefully the more prepared you are for a job. But I remember that was some feedback we gave at the time was, it's tough when everybody's looking for a job in the fall, and to go really apply for a quant job in a really competitive space, you needed the full year, you needed the full curriculum to really be competitive. It could have changed since then. That's how it was.
Yeah, but that's interesting because if you want to do the program in 1 year, it's the fall you just started, unless you go for MBAs and things like that, they're not going to hire you until they know that you know the stuff.
Right.
You don't, because you haven't done it. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. So you're better off having.
Exactly.
Oh.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
I'm sure as you could see, the class mix, we have a lot of international students. And for them, if they do it in 1 year, right, and they graduate in May, literally they have 3 months to get a job. It's a little more difficult, right? Because depends which
Yeah, it
one.
is. Yeah, it's extremely difficult. That's why I think a lot of us, we took jobs in the fall that we got at the standard career fair, and we were banking on the skills we were learning, but we were also leaning for those jobs we interviewed for in the fall. We were leaning heavily on our undergrad degrees to get those jobs too. So I don't know what the magical answer is. Like, if I could do it all over with the constraints on me, I think I wouldn't have done anything differently. But I do think that if you're really dead set on getting that quant job, like a Wall Street quant job, and I'm not speaking from experience because I didn't do this, but I speculated that, doing more networking, now you have LinkedIn. When I was in school, LinkedIn really wasn't a big thing. But, going through LinkedIn, making some contacts, go through career services and find, even if they're not a quant, finding maybe somebody on Wall Street that was a Lehigh alumni to connect with at a firm that you're interested in. But, laying the groundwork for those jobs. And to make it even tougher, I think, a lot of those competitive Wall Street firms, they want you to have had an internship there first. And, if you're doing it in 1 year, you can't, unless you're willing to accept an internship after graduation, which maybe if you're really committed, maybe that's the right answer. But yeah, very difficult.
I think I'm sorry, you have a question?
Yeah, it's a good question. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
Sorry?
I have to come
Yeah.
again. Can you hear me?
Speak loud.
Am I audible?
There we go.
All right. How are you doing?
It's true.
All right.
Get closer. Get next to the talking people.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, cool. Just a quick question. I just wanted to find out. Well, 2 questions. I'm an international student. I just wanted to find out, what was the class mix like during your year in terms of international students? And then how did they fare? But the most important one is, in terms of the quant roles that you were talking about, I just wanted to find out, are they mainly middle office kind of roles, or are they front office kind of quant roles? I just wanted to get the feel of kind of roles and what they entail in terms of the job.
Great question. So the class mix, it was highly international. I don't know, I want to say maybe 85 or 90% international, only 10% domestic. And in terms of the nature of the quant roles, I started what you would call, I would argue not even middle office, more back office, because it was, rebalancing was a part of the night work. So when I think of middle office, I think of more of like account opening and account management and things like that. But the quant role that I transitioned to in the investment side was 100% a front office job. Me and my boss, we picked stocks from a model and we directly invested in assets.
Okay.
And your first question?
Yeah, he answered the first question.
They did?
Yeah.
Did they all find jobs?
Yeah.
I didn't get that part.
What's that?
Did they get jobs? I'm confused.
Did they get jobs? Yes. But that was a long time ago. I can't remember who exactly and where. I'd have to do some LinkedIning to answer that appropriately, probably. But I do remember there were people getting jobs. But I think there were a lot of people that were still looking for jobs when they graduated too.
Yep.
So.
All right, listen, I don't want to take any more of your time. I know that you're working and time is money. So I want to thank you very much. And if you hear about any type of internship, anything in very, back office, front office, let us know. That should be
Sure.
the email. I'll forward to these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you a link to our careers. And like I said, we have a quant analyst opening in London right now. So, if you're graduating, it might be a stretch right out of school. And that was the last thing I wanted to say. A lot of quant roles, they look for experience, but getting experience in something like technology or finance or something else can be applied towards a quant role. But definitely make sure you have the tech skills. A lot of people in finance, but if you can write code and use Python, you're going to be a lot higher up the stack. So there's no shame in taking a non-quant role, working a couple years, but building your tech skills and your investment skills, and then jumping in. That's kind of how I did it. So just wanted to add that, and I'll get an email with our careers page to you guys.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys. Good luck.
Bye.